Welcome back to the show. I'm Adam.
And I'm Slacker Steve.
And we are the laziest show on the internet. This is Pop Goes the Show.
Yep.
And we've been gone for, I don't know. At this point, when this comes out, I don't even know how long it's been since we put an episode out. Supplies are running low. It's cold here in the Midwest. Where in the Midwest, we're not going to say exactly, but let's just say it's cold. Supplies are running low. So we're just hanging out, trying to stay warm. And we hope this message reaches you. Seriously.
I guess we'll see.
So what do you? I'm a little confused. All I really know for sure is that there's like black and white face paint, and my chair smells like an old Swedish dude.
Yeah, and like there was some wizard. I don't
know. And you said something. Okay, tell them what we're gonna do today because this is part 2.
Well, yeah, this is part 2. Stacker Steve kind of explained this to me. He said that the Halloween episode was done with contractors, so he didn't need us. So I don't know. So this is part 2 in a series from last time.
This show, yeah, the guest host for the Halloween episode. Yeah, we haven't even seen that episode, so I mean we don't watch this show.
Yeah.
We're not even sure why you're watching right now, but
I haven't seen it 3 or 4 times each time I put it out.
Yeah. Did you just say you've seen it 4 times, but only when you put out? Well, there you go.
That is not what I said.
Slacker Steve's a big fan of his own show.
All right, so I guess last time we apparently talked about the first Black Sabbath album. So part 2, obviously, would be Paranoid. So, yes, we got Paranoid here. I have it on LP and CD. And so, looking at this cover, like what does that look like to you? Who do you think this guy is?
I think it's the Beatles. Because that looks like a different guy, and that looks like a different guy. That guy doesn't have a mustache behind him.
Well, so yes, the guy in the very back, he kind of looks like bass player Paul McCartney.
That's what I'm saying. George Harrison, John Lennon, Paul McCartney. No Ringo.
Whoa, I totally see it.
It's the Beatles.
Yeah, so confirmed the Beatles were on the front of this album cover, if you look really close.
Or it's the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, but then you're bringing time travel into it. I don't know. I think our first theory is much
those guys are pretty old. They're like they're not the Backstreet Boys anymore. They're the old creepy dudes hanging out like, hey. They're the weird old guys.
Alright, so I guess we'll start with
what's your favorite one? What's your favorite song on this album?
It's so hard to pick because, it reads like a greatest hits album. Like, you just look at all of the songs and you're like, well, fuck, I mean...
I know where I'd start. I don't. No.
I guess if I had to pick one, and, the others, fade out of existence and I don't know about them, I'd probably keep Electric Funeral. I remember the first time I heard it, the first thing I noticed was... just how creepy, the guitar sounded, using that wah pedal. It sounds like the audio interpretation of Radiation. That's just what it sounds like to me.
I don't really even know, what more I can really say about that. I think you just described that song perfectly. It's like you managed to... It's like if you did an interpretive dance. If that song was an interpretive dance, I would have been like, Nuclear Fallout. I totally get what you're saying right now.
Yeah,
I understood that, the feeling. I don't think there's a better way to, really, that. I mean, someone could say, well, that's obvious, by the lyrics, and, no. I mean, obviously the lyrics are, but I think we mean to say, it's just on a deeper level, just beyond, lyrical content. Just the vibe of the song, if you had to describe it as a color or whatever.
Yeah, it's just green radiation, just floating in front of you, and you're gonna die. That's just what that song sounds like.
Exactly.
So you brought up Fairies Wear Boots. Like, so well, what's your interpretation on that song? What's your call?
It has such... It's so textured. Like that song, think about how many build-ups that song has in it until it finally gets to the point.
Yeah.
And then when it does get to the point, it's like a shuffle. You're like, whoa, holy crap, this is so good. Like, I would have never, like, if you're not, a huge Black Sabbath fan or whatever, like, it's not, everybody knows Iron Man. Everybody knows that one, whether you're a Black Sabbath fan or not, you know the song Iron Man.
I mean, if you've seen any of the Iron Man movies.
Yeah, for one reason or another, you're familiar at least with that song. But this song is not something that you would I guess on the build-up, you would be like, oh, okay, this is pretty much what I thought it was going to be. And then it hits to the shuffle, and you're like, wait.
I wasn't expecting this journey.
Yeah, like, this is, holy crap, this is good. Like, Black Sabbath is, I mean, that's a song that I think, and not that I endorse, like, that's, Ozzy's a modern medical, like, marvel. They've established that. Like, if you do the things that they did...
I think genetically with science and
if
stuff,
you do these things, you will die. Like, so don't do that. Is part of the reason that some of the songs like Fairies Wear Boots are just so damn good. Like, that's why, well, and think about it, that's why some of, some of it is just immortal. Like, it's so good, so innovative, like, only, like, so minuscule a chance that would ever even make it out into the universe, because it would take the perfect combination of somebody getting so whacked beyond any human capabilities ever done before or again to come up with that. That's if anything, some people would say, well, that sounds like you're endorsing it. No, what I'm saying is you cannot do that. You will die. You will never be as good as Black Sabbath. I'm just sorry to tell you. Like, often imitated, never duplicated. So just don't try it. Save yourself the trouble. Drugs are, if anything, I'm saying that this proves that drugs are pretty bad. Like, you should not do drugs because you will die and you will still suck. So don't do that.
You know what I love about Black Sabbath is, like, it's like a group of guys that didn't know what they were doing. Like, you had Tony, he was kind of a blues guitar player. You got Bill, he was like a jazz drummer. And you had Geezer that's just, I want to make scary bass lines. And, like, there wasn't heavy metal back then. This was heavy, like, this was what started it. Like, I couldn't imagine being the first, like, person to, like, go from the music you were hearing in the 50s and 60s, and then this comes up, like...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, the impact, like, it had to take some superhuman, like, it had to take somebody doing something that people hadn't done before, and so they did the opposite of the clean cut, whatever.
Yeah, and
and it totally worked.
They stood out for it. I mean, and then another thing I kind of want to discuss, like when it comes to albums like these, like a lot of times I hear, like, oh man, that album's so overplayed, like, their other albums are way better, this song's way better, but I mean, I have to admit, like, I don't play this one as often as I used to because I've heard it so many times, but that's because I've heard it so many times. I mean, you just can't deny, like, they named it Iron Man because Geezer said it sounded like a big iron bloke walking around. That's exactly what that song sounds like.
They made him go outside and record the rain during that first album, right?
All right, well, since, like, we picked our two favorites, let's talk about some other ones. War Pigs. Like, what's your take on that song?
That's another one that I think's gotten played, like... The difference is, I think, like, when they sang it, like, there's been how that song's been covered, right? Like, I mean, like nobody's business. But think about the time and the place that song was written. It drugged up or not, like, it had impact.
Yeah.
Like there was something behind it. You could say what you want about Ozzy. Like I'm not a huge fan of Ozzy. I recognize his legacy with Black Sabbath and whatnot. Like I'm more of a Dio guy, but like that's a whole nother album review. But I mean, that doesn't mean that their words had no meaning. Like doesn't you know what I mean? That doesn't mean that there was no heart and no guts behind it just because you were.
Well, that's kind of like
drinking
the impressive
or doing
thing
whatever.
about like that song. There's so much like heart to it. Like just the way that he shouts the lyrics. Like no matter what he's saying, you just want to get in on that, even if you're just gonna like, you know, mouth the syllables like like.
Oh, that was awesome. That makes me feel better because I was just gonna say, you know, that, like there's opportunities here and there, and it's like I can sing a song or two. That's a rumor, like, but that song will. It sounds like people are like, oh, it's so easy. It's a passion thing. Like if you're like getting up to there. Mattress, which is Black Friday. What did he's? No more childs. What? Oh, that's terrible. Like I really like. People say that music isn't political, which I mean that's a song that proves like music is, especially rock and roll, has always been very political.
Well, there's like a lot of songs from that era that you know definitely have that same like flair. Like it just that was a product of its time.
Right? Like, think about how popular War Pigs is, right? And, you know, it may or may not relate to, you know, current events or whatever, but, like, that song, like, it was political in a way that was inclusive. You know what I mean? Like, it had guts behind it. It was political in a way, like, in such a way that we still sing the song. Like, that's how good of a song War Pigs is, that it still has meaning. And it was,
Was 71, I think?
Yeah.
I used to know that. Like, that's one of the things my brain's like, yeah, I don't think he's using this right now. So, yeah, I mean, I think that kind of just sums up Paranoid. Like, you know, we can go over like all the songs, but I mean, I think we just pointed out some of the like best parts about it. Like, if you haven't heard it, like, go listen to it. If you've heard it a million times and you haven't heard it in a while, like, give it another listen with fresh ears. Like, you know, it's.
Yep.
There might be some things that we're hiding way out in the open.
And I mean, I highly recommend. There's a lot of you out there. Like, I recommend just listening to it with a. Recommend everybody listen to it with a clear mind. Grab a nice snack and a bottle of unnamed sports drink that won't sponsor us, and just sit back with a nice clear mind and listen to it again. And I think you might find some things that you hadn't heard before. Or go the other way with it, I guess.
Yeah,
if you only listen to it with a clear mind, then have yourself a Mountain Dew, spice it up a little bit, and make.
Well, like there's a lot of times in my life where I've wished I could like forget about something that I know really well, just so I could experience it again. Like I wish that was a thing. So I try to like make that the case, especially when I like dig into albums I've listened to a million times. So that should wrap it up for tonight.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Slacker Steve.
And happy holidays.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I just want to take an opportunity here, just for a second, to do some shameless self-promotion. A few years ago, I used to be in this band called Megaton, and it's kind of like a sludge, stoner metal type of band.
kind of like, I guess, High on Fire or Mastodon. And I'm bringing it up because we actually covered Electric Funeral on the end of that album there. It's got a bunch of other tracks I really like too. But yeah, Adam told me he likes that song a lot. He said, dude, you should totally plug your song on there. So yeah, I'm going to leave a link to our old Bandcamp in the description below. And, if you want to check that out, maybe possibly the rest of the album, I'd appreciate it because it was a lot of fun recording it. So thanks. See ya.